Hello, welcome to the Inside Marketing with MarketSurge podcast. Carmen, special welcome to you. You're a member of the team. I would love to hear the Carmen in 60 seconds intro. So we've got you as a tech wizard, a TikTok creator, the MarketSurge ride or die. Who are you?
I am just a girly trying to navigate her way through life. I always say, my biggest thing is to have like an abundant mindset and a growth mindset because we're all here to continuously learn. And that's what I feel like I show up as as a wife, as just an employee, as someone that does some fun content creation on the side. Building a community and whatever it may be, you have to learn how to connect with people. And the more that you can learn, the better you can show up as your best self.
Well, Carmen, you're balancing a full-time career in support at MarketSurge, customer success and implementation, being a wife and crushing it as a content creator. So tell us a little bit about, managing all of these responsibilities and maybe some interesting multitasking moment you've had recently.
Yeah. So in the multitasking realm of things, one thing that I'm really trying to focus on this year is my health, just my overall mental health, physical health, and just being a little bit better in that area every day. So I've been setting goals every month about how many steps I want to get, got myself a little walking pad. And what I'll do, before or after work is focus on the content creation. You know, we're going to be doing that in the morning and the evening. And during that time, I'm like, okay, how do I fit everything in? I'm already busy. How do you fit more things in that are also a priority in your life? So I have learned that I will get on my little walking pad and I'll start walking and I will start editing my content that I probably maybe filmed yesterday or filmed in the morning. And last week, I thought I could go a little bit faster and I actually fell right off of that thing and right onto my path. I was tumbling and rolling and I was like, honestly, maybe I just need my own little reality TV show of how embarrassing I am. So multitasking is all about like that time management. And I, realized I needed to start waking up a little bit earlier, going to bed a little bit earlier as well to kind of just fit everything in and be able to show up and be happy in each aspect of where I'm at right now.
Interesting. Yeah. And, I love to hear these kinds of stories because, even if we're not doing running multiple businesses or multiple careers, we all have to balance our personal life with our professional life. And so, it's nice to hear that, someone doing really well like you is, having similar struggles. So, well, we're going to talk about your work with MarketSurge later in the podcast, but would love to hear to start a little bit about your experience with TikTok and being an influencer there. Tell us, how did you get started? And was there a moment where you felt like this is really taking off and that I should really invest some more effort into it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started as most people do, just being a consumer. TikTok was a really big thing. Wanted to check it out. Really loved that style of just being able to search for different content, being able to find new people. And I'm all about like resources. And for me, social media is looked at as a really bad thing, but for me, it's just another resource. How you spend your time with that resource is your own problem, but that's a whole different discussion. Um, and that's something that I will talk about a lot as an influencer as well is just priorities, time management, all of those things. But being able to just focus in on what I'm doing helps me be a content creator. And I just kind of realized that all these people were kind of just human beings. They're similar people to me. I feel like that's the thing about like influencers or, even business owners, outside people are like, oh, I could never do that. And really you can. It's just what are you making a priority? How are you showing up? And creating, the amount of effort you're putting into it is your timeline, right? That's how you're going to see that growth. So for me, one day I was like, you know what? I want to be able to like get free stuff and like get to try new things. I'm all about self-care. That's a lot what my content is about. And I just kind of noticed this transformation among women and in the thought of self-care. So I was like, you know what? I have some thoughts about that. Let me start creating some content. So I started with these little moments called coffee card chats with Carm. a lot of us, we're on the go and it's just sometimes we have a thought and we're just like, "Oh, I wanna share that." So that's what I love to do is just take a moment and share, was I inspired by a song? Like, sometimes I will just be bawling my eyes out to a song and be like, "I wanna share how that made me feel." And, how do people get in their feelings? How do they walk through those emotions? So, there's so many different things in life, and the theme that a lot of, content creators hear today is everything is content.
Mm.
So that's how, you kind of build that and you start to build your brand as you just kind of dive in. What are you doing in daily life? If you're showing up and trying to fake it or do things that you're not really doing, people are going to see that as inauthentic and, you're not going to succeed. But one thing for me was I had a brand, like I said, I kind of started out just to get the free products and just to kind of feel a little bit less lonely in my normal life and build kind of a community and just have some friends, to be quite honest, people to talk to, people with like-minded interests. So that's kind of how I like really dived into it. And then when there was a brand, it's called Dr. Teal's. They are a brand that I have been using for 15 years or however long, ever since they were in Walmart, I was getting them. And what I did was I checked my email one day and I saw Dr. Teal's was like, "I love your content. It's so inspiring. It's so empowering. Like, we would love to share our products with you." So that was one of those moments I was like, "Okay, well, people are noticing. They are liking what I have to say." And it's, as a content creator, whether it's gifted or it's a huge paid collaboration, if you love that product, you're going to be proud of that. So that was definitely my moment. I was like, okay, I'm doing something right.
Interesting. Interesting. So it kind of emerged organically as something that you genuinely loved, and
Yeah.
that was enough to get started. Well, that's great. So did s- tell us about like I'm curious, like the time frame you started at TikTok. Was this like in the early days of TikTok?
So no,
Okay.
I actually wasn't on TikTok for probably the first year. I think that it really started blowing up during COVID,
Mm,
but I actually worked in healthcare, so I never really had that, like, COVID moment where I was completely shut down from the world. Like, I was always on the front line working every
okay.
day, and you're drained. I mean, you are just absolutely drained during that time, so coming home and I didn't really care about anything like that. I didn't care about the trends or anything, but my sister was telling me that, she always wanted to talk about different things. She was like, "Did you hear about this? Did you hear about that?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't hear about that again." So I finally like downloaded it and I was like, "Honestly, this is pretty cool." It was a completely different way to consume
Mm,
content. A lot of people, they either love YouTube or they don't like to spend the time listening to it, or sitting down and, kind of engaging with that. So TikTok just kind of gave people that, are a little bit faster in the way that they consume content, a little bit more carefree. I feel like it kinda dove into that demographic, and they've really found a way to do it across the board for everyone, but that was definitely how I kind of started, and then I kind of consumed content for probably a year, before I even thought
oh,
about
wow.
becoming a content
Okay.
creator. I had kind of left that busy, crazy, chaotic life, and in healthcare and started searching for a new position, which, led me to MarketSurge.
Awesome.
But in that kind of downtime, I was like, I felt really lonely. I wasn't interacting with anybody. I think I didn't have a job for several months, and it was like, what do I do to fill my time that feels
Mm,
good? I didn't have any hobbies at the time. Everyone kept saying that to me. You need to have hobbies. You need to love yourself to not feel so lonely. And I was like, okay, well, how do I do that? So I kind of started just seeing all of these people getting a lot of satisfaction in their life from being a creator. And I was like, yeah, let me do that as well. So I want to say I started like maybe 3 years
okay.
ago, um, somewhere around there. It was like right before I started at MarketSurge. And then, you know, kind of fell in love with it and have continued ever since.
Interesting. And we've been working together for about a year, Carmen, and I think I just found out about your TikTok following a few weeks ago. So you've kind of kept it on the DL at work, but I've seen a lot of your videos. You do a great job. Do you plan to pursue additional sponsorships? Is that something that you'd be interested in?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the dream as a content creator, right? Is to be paid for
Mhm.
how you're showing up
Yeah.
currently. So, I actually just had one not too long ago. It was for, like, a super viral
Okay.
product. You know, virality is a huge
Yeah.
thing that kinda came from TikTok, I believe, as well. And, being able to do products like that is always, easier because it's like, I know
Mhm.
people are talking about this, like, what are they saying? So, I feel like a lot of it is the research behind it too,
Okay.
and that's something that they, don't realize about content creators is we're not just, like, getting on there and just chatting about things. Like, we do our research. We wanna make sure that we're, looking at ingredients,
Mhm.
and that's something that I've learned from content creation. Like, is this just a product that they just stuck a bunch of things in and they want you to slap it on your face and call it the best thing ever? So, you just, like I feel like it's been a way to learn a lot about myself, which has been fun.
Okay. Well, that's great. So I know there are a lot of entrepreneurs that would like to extend their brand with social media. TikTok seems to be a good platform. Do you have any tactics that you'd recommend for somebody just getting into the TikTok game? Now, selfishly, like MarketSurge, we opened a TikTok account a few weeks ago as well, and so I'm listening intently. What do you recommend for maximizing your influence on TikTok?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are so many people now that just have pages dedicated to teaching people how to do this because
Mm.
it's become such a big thing. It's filling the loneliness gap that we're feeling a lot these days. That social anxiety. It's a way to interact with people without having to physically leave your house. So there's so many different people that are on it and so many different creators. So you can just look up what are the best tips and
Mm.
tricks, to do content. Some right out the gate here are, if you haven't heard of this yet, there's a thing called a millennial pause.
Okay.
So, people of our generation, apparently we like to come on and we're really like quiet first, or we pause a lot, or, we're saying, like those things to fill gaps because we're just not used to being on social media. But the younger generations, apparently they figured this all out. So that's something that we've kind of learned from them is you want to be like right away action. And I kinda talked to you about this is like where you're like sitting down or you're moving your cup or, you're putting on your glasses. It's it's basically like little movements that are catching people's eyes. So what you're saying is really important, but actually what you're doing with your body is very important as well.
Okay.
That body language, which we learn at such a young age about body language, that really comes to life as a content creator. As you can see, I can't stop moving my hand because I'm so used to
Sure.
doing
Yeah.
that as a creator, on my own like, community and just kinda chatting with them, and that's how I would interact in real life, so I do it out on camera as well, so I think that that's where, like, that authentic factor kinda comes in, but yeah, there are so many tips and tricks, I will say on TikTok specifically, you can actually look at your metrics, so
Okay.
that's something that's nice about that software specifically is you can kind of look, "Okay, when are people that are following me looking at my content? What times of day does my content kinda do the best? Do I have mostly male followers or female
Mm.
followers?" And it even breaks it down as to what region of the world is kind of consuming your content. So I actually have a lot of Canadians that follow my content, which is really cool.
Interesting.
And, personally, I've fallen in love with a lot of like, Canadian creators. So
Okay.
it's been fun. I love travel, so just being able to talk about anything culture-wise for different regions of the world is always fun for me.
Oh, that is interesting. Okay. Yeah. Those are some great tips and tricks. We're always looking for hacks to maximize the use of these platforms. And, other than the time spent, this investment in TikTok is free. You can buy ads. I'm not very familiar with the ad side of TikTok, but so much of this is just self-generated effort, polish, and best practices like you're describing. So I'm so glad to hear that you're doing well and really enjoying that. Well, let's talk a little bit about your other career at MarketSurge. So, Carmen, you've actually been with MarketSurge much longer than I have, and and I think many, if you look at the reviews, like Carmen, you're mentioned in almost every 5-star review we have, and and I feel like you're kind of like the beating heart of MarketSurge, and what most people see is the human face of customer success. And So tell us a little bit about what brought you to MarketSurge and, what your career arc has been like, you know?
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, was kind of a frontline worker during COVID. That was draining on my mental health. And I am an empathic
Mm,
person, so I can kind of feel people's energy. And like, it was really hard. I worked in addiction, and
mm,
overall, that's just a hard field to be in. So, during that time, we saw huge spikes in anxiety, huge spikes in depression just across the world, I feel like. So, I just kind of realized that, personally for me, I just couldn't turn it off, and it was really eating into my happiness in my day-to-day life. So, I started looking into something that, most importantly, I could turn my mind off at the end of the night. That was really important to me. And, when I met the, person that was interviewing me at the time for Market Surge, I remember that he said to me, "There is never an emergency in, this tech industry. Yes, people feel like there's emergencies, but no one is going to die about this." And that was just like the indication that I needed that this was the right move for me. And I'm so happy I do. I feel like I have such a better work life balance. And I always tell people, when my friends are ever, having struggles in their job, I tell them, if you're not happy in that, the world is big, the world is wide, go and find your happiness. And maybe if you can't change your job situation, do something or find a hobby, like I said, like content creation that's gonna fill your cup up, because our batteries are drained every single day, and you need to be able to know that your job is something that you wanna wake up to, and, you're excited to go do. So once I got into Market Surge, I just loved the customer part of it. So I was mainly operations, in my career before this, and operations is customer success, but it's also really the admin side of it, the back end side of it. So what I'm learning from all of our entrepreneurs is you kind of wear multiple different hats. And I mean, I knew that because I have worked in, like I said, that industry of operations, but as a entrepreneur, you have to be really good at operations. You have to be good at financials. You have to be good at so many different things. So I feel like I've been able to take my experiences from personal life and professional life and be able to help people and, just connect them to why, how do we make market surge work for you? That's the main thing.
that's wonderful. Um, so just to add a little color to, MarketSurge was founded, by Jared Nygren, a friend of ours, and he's off starting another business. Maybe I'll have him on the podcast in the future. But when I was in the process of acquiring MarketSurge, one of the keys that I insisted to Jared is that we find a way to retain Carmen. Like Carmen is like such a key asset to the business that I can't really acquire the business without Carmen's help. And um and Carmen's been so valuable, but I think Carmen was actually one that told me that there aren't really technical emergencies that you have to be on 24/7 for. And um and I think sometimes in support, when we have clients, we are reactive. We and for context, we do actually have 24/7 support available on our technical platform. But it's overseas, and so they're working daylight hours. Well, if a problem would come up at night. However, a lot of the issues that could come up would be like one of our marketing automations having been configured incorrectly or working incorrectly and messaging the wrong person. Um, but those sorts of things are very easy to turn on and off, and not life and death, as you say. And Carmen, I think you've done a good job teaching that, and even helping our clients understand the gravity of that. Um,
Yeah, that's what I always say. Whenever I'm on a meeting with somebody, I always, let them know of all of the resources available to them, because everyone loves to get on a call with me and I love to get on a call with them. But, I'm not available during the weekend. So when people are running, say a campaign during the holidays and we're not available, we have that back end support, which is so helpful to them. But I also really push my clients to let's work out the kinks
Yeah.
beforehand. And I feel like that's just a life lesson. Work out the kinks beforehand so you're not stressed in the moment and it's not a fire.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's been something I've really been able to build with our community is preparation and kind of instilling those kind of values that we have in our community into our clients as well.
100%. And, um, over time, inevitably, we've all had this problem, but we've dealt with people who, shall we say, have a different communication style or different working style and present a bit of a challenge. Now, we love all our clients, but we have had interactions occasionally with somebody that maybe is rushed more than they should be, or stressed about something that maybe doesn't have a material impact to their business, and kind of unload on you. How have you dealt with these kind of situations? And you do it so effectively, but I think this would be valuable for anybody in any kind of support business.
Yeah, absolutely. As entrepreneurs or business owners or working in any industry, you're going to deal with clients that, maybe don't see things the way that you do, or they want to play the blame game or whatever it may be. And those can be hard conversations. And I feel like in the beginning, I used to react kind of like you said. And I was just kind of came from a chaotic environment. So I kind of would put that into my energy here, and people can feel that energy even through the screen. If I'm kind of freaking out and I'm like, oh, I don't know how to navigate this, or hold on one moment, let me figure this out real quick. I've really realized to kind of slow down, and people actually appreciate that. They appreciate that calm energy. When you start to freak out as the leader that's leading a conversation, people are going to freak out around you. So that's number one, is just showing up with your own energy that you want people to give back to you. Another thing is to say you have a client that really is just giving you a hard time. Like every time you see them on your calendar, you're like, ah, dang, this is maybe going to be a bumpy ride. I feel like just remembering that everyone is human and we have to show up with kindness and compassion, because at the end of the day, we don't know what that person on the other side of the screen is going through. Um, you know, they may look so successful running this amazing business, and I'm sure they are, but we know that comes with a lot of stress as well. And sometimes as humans, we deflect and we put our energy into the wrong places, and just kind of being like not taking it personally. And I think that's just a lesson in everyday life is if you can be like, okay, they had a little bit of a moment, go from there. And then also if you do have someone that is kind of, maybe giving you a little bit of anxiety, making you a little fearful to jump on a call with them. I think that what I learned to do was to actually just take a little bit of extra time. And on our calendars, it's nice because we can add a little bit of a buffer time into all of our calendars. So I started adding buffer times in my calendars so that during meetings, it never felt rushed. I always had an extra 15 minutes at the end of every meeting. And what I learned with, specific clients in the past is I just started to learn about them. I remember taking a class in college and it was all about like how do humans behave? How do our minds work? And how that relates to management styles. We are all different. Everyone reacts in different ways. Everyone was raised in different environments. We all have different values and morals. And that is just like a lesson I'm always trying to project to people, because kindness comes from that compassion and that understanding. And when you can take the time to be like, I feel like as a support member, if you're constantly talking to the same people, if you can be like, "Oh, hey, how's your brother doing?" and you remembered that he was in the hospital last time you spoke to someone, that is going to be just the biggest cherry on top to a successful conversation, because people know that you're really listening to them.
Yeah, and that's a great point. It's those kinds of touches that make people feel heard, and because we're really in a business of relationships, and trust. They're our clients are asking us for recommendations. They're asking us for, uh, y- you know, asking us to help them make important decisions for them. And um, if we're somebody that feels like we're along the ride with them, then that really does help. And and also, like, I mean, once in a while we're wrong or we make a mistake. We make that right, but but our relationship can persist past those kinds of errors, provided we have that relationship. I think, Carmen, you do such a great job with this, and um, have just so much patience, and kindness with our clients. So you've done excellent work with them, and definitely a patience that I admire. I don't have myself, and so I'm glad
Oh, yeah, you do. Yes, you do.
well, we do our best.
Yeah,
Now,
exactly.
so the question for you is, so you have a great combination of creative, project management, and technical skills. And, but a lot of those were, especially the technical skills, were learned on the job, and how does that experience, that you've come so far? You're definitely the MarketSurge CRM expert on the team. I still go to you with tons of questions, and but knowing that, like, and where you started and where you are now, how how does that make you, or how would you advise somebody in like a non-technical, with a non-technical background, to learn technical skills?
Absolutely. Your mindset is so important. If you tell yourself, and I hear this a lot of the time, just like I kind of tried to hype you up. Yes, you do have
Sure.
patience. I do that with our clients a lot too, because I always have, people that are like, "Oh, I'm just never going to understand this. I'm so grateful for you because you walk me through it." And I'm like, "Well, if you feel like I'm going too fast, like slow me down. Tell me how I can help you actually grasp this information, what kind of resources." And that's something that our team is really great about too, is if somebody asks for, can you make a tutorial on this, and say it's a very complex one, about creating funnels. I'm either going to jump on a call with you, or we're going to provide those resources, because we want to make sure that you're successful. But that is just the biggest thing, is just kind of breaking it down, being a continuous learner, and just having that mindset to be like, I'm going to figure this out. I mean, I will even tell people it took me probably a good 6 to 8 months to truly feel so confident that I could run the entire system. And there's still even things today that I'm like, a client will come with us with an issue, and I'll be like, "Okay, well, I don't know of an answer to that right now, but let me think about that. Let me ask our development team." And we're usually pretty good about finding what we call workarounds, which will be ways that if the system can't do it, we're going to find a way for, to piece some things together so you can automate that and make your life easier, because that's what we're all about in this game, is just making sure that our entrepreneurs are not wasting time on the admin things, and they're actually being able to dive into the creative things that they love.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And I've been surprised at how important teaching and the ability to teach is so crucial to our business. Both like internally and externally. Well, this has been awesome, Carmen. A couple more questions just before we leave, maybe a little bit outside of work. What would you say is your guilty pleasure, or what's like interesting media you consume outside of work? What are some of those favorites you like, when you're not on the clock?
Yeah, well, my guiltiest pleasure is definitely binge watching a TV show. I love to just rot and be able to turn my mind off. I'm a very overactive, my brain is bouncing off the walls 24/7. So to be able to actually like just chill is such a blessing. But what I really have been leaning into recently, because I'm kind of realizing that might be rotting my brain a little bit, and could be the best thing for it, all the time after work or whatever, is diving into kind of the content that I wanna show up as. And that's kind of one of the reasons I got into being a content creator, is are a few YouTubers that really honestly changed my life, changed my mindset, taught me about the abundant mindset, taught me about a growth mindset. So I really like to stay really up to date with them. I feel like that's something that's really fun, and a big trend that was going around is comfort creators. And that's exactly who I wanna be. I wanna
Okay.
be the person that you're like, "Oh, what's she up to?" And, that's kind of the relationship that I like to have with my community and the people that I follow, is, again, filling that loneliness gap and, having those people that you can catch up with and just kind of looking at everything more so as a positive than a negative. If I do realize that maybe I'm consuming too much TV or something, maybe change that muse up or media that I'm consuming and go to a book or something like that. But I always laugh because people seem a little scared of self-help books, but those are, like, my favorite thing.
Interesting.
I love to learn more about the science behind the mind and why do I have anxiety? Why do I suffer with
Hmm.
that? And, what ways can we basically plan and prepare so we don't have those in, say, moments like this where you show up and like, "Oh, I hope this goes okay." But, doing our deep breathing and things like that will definitely get us prepared.
Well, any specific, I'm gonna, follow up with, are there any specific YouTube creators you like that,
Yeah.
we could recommend?
Yes. So, I have a couple.
Okay.
Janine Amapola,
Okay.
she is a very good Christian lifestyle content creator. There is Sam Oscorral. She is, again, a lifestyle creator. She is in her, early 30s. I'm getting there as well. So I like to kind of see people that are a little bit maybe ahead of me to kind of see what they're going through, what kind of struggles. She's very into
Hmm.
manifestation and just like teaching about mindset and simple like habits to kind of better yourself. And then there is another one called Lauren Geraldo. I think that's how you say her name. She's just funny. You gotta have those funny people
Mhm.
too. You can't always be consuming content that's trying to better yourself or you're gonna be like, "Oh, I'm not good enough for this." But, balancing it out and having different types of people that I go to. But Lauren she actually created a very big trend that's called 12-3-30.
Okay.
I don't have quite the treadmill. I just have a little walking pad, so I can't do that, but I have done it before, and it is a great workout, and I just think it's cool to follow people that, that my sister follows or that my friends follow, so that we actually have things to talk about beyond the negativities of life because let's be honest, every time we get together with people, the natural thing to do is to gossip or to talk about, "Oh, this was hard this week," or whatever, so that's what I've kind of learned, as I'm approaching 30 now is finding things that we're like-minded with people that are positive, which can be a little bit of a struggle, but that's one thing that I do love about, you can see who's following Lauren
Sure.
on your, Instagram or whatever it may be, so you can be able to connect with them about that.
Interesting. Would you say you're an extrovert or an introvert just in general?
I'm right in the
Okay.
middle. I can
Okay.
definitely, once I show up and get that little energy, that nervous energy out of the way, I'm gonna be an
Okay.
extrovert, I'm gonna chat it up with
Mhm.
you. And I would say probably everybody, thinks I'm an extrovert
Yeah.
naturally
Uh-huh.
just because once I start chatty Cathy, I'm over here just chatting away, but really, truly, I am one of those people that when you make plans with me, I've probably thought 30 times, "Should I go? Should I not go?" Like, 'cause, you have that nervous energy
Mhm.
about it. So,
Sure.
that's the introvert in
Okay.
me, but I actually recently went to an event by myself, and that's something that I'm learning too is you can do things by yourself, you don't always have to be with friends. But we went to this event. It was actually a friendship building event, and I sat with all these girls, and they said to me at the end of the night, they were like, "We are so grateful that we were sitting with you specifically because you made us open up." They all were like, "We're such introverts, and, it's so hard to come to these events and to feel comfortable." So I feel like that's just, what I'm trying to make my life motto is to make specifically women just feel confident to show up, and if you love a bubble bath, like, dig into that, and I remember I used to be made fun of for that in my family, and I'm like, "Have you ever had a self-care bubble bath? Like, that's the best." So it's really leaning into things that actually make you happy and fill up your cup.
Yeah. Well, that's great. And you had a few tells that made me think that you were an introvert as you were describing your approach to social event. And I'm a definitely an introvert. I overthink things. Um, I sweat before I get to the event. But if there's a task at the event, like if we're um, working on something or watching a sporting event, it's like I'm good. But like if it's open ended, I am just like a mess. I'm the like my kryptonite is small talk. That's really what I
Or
struggle.
how is the weather?
Yeah,
I feel like that's all I talk about
yeah,
these days. I'm like, "It wasn't sunny
yeah.
today, so." you know?
Exactly.
But yeah, I get
Or
it.
just, like, ask me
I
how I'm doing, and I'll be like, like, "What?"
Oh, yeah. Or what are you even up to lately? That's the
Oh,
worst.
man,
It's like,
yeah.
can you just check my Instagram? That's what tells you what the pictures I posted yesterday, that's what I'm up to, you
Exactly,
know?
exactly. Yeah, ask me about something substantial. Well, you know
Exactly.
well, Carmen, it has been a real delight to have you on the podcast. Um, you add so much to the Market Surge team, and you do such great work. Our clients love you, and I sure appreciate all that you do for the team. Well, we're going to wrap it there, and at any time you can always reach uh, Carmen at support@marketsurge.com, or text her at 872-266-3383. We are always here to help for any of our clients, any questions you have. But again, thanks for coming on, Carmen.
Yeah, thank you so much for all the kind comments and just making this nice and easy. Because when you can be around people that make you feel good, that's the way to be successful for sure.